Welcome! This is my Wicked Problem project, which explains how online quizzes can be effectively implemented into a classroom and demonstrates how online testing can be helpful for teachers. There are several reasons why I chose to research, evaluate, and implement online quizzes. First of all, my school district encourages students to retake tests because tests are worth a large portion of each student's grade and to ensure that students have learned the content. However, copying and creating new versions of a test requires time and several resources. Secondly, I was hoping to create an environmentally friendly way to assess students without wasting ink and paper. I was disgusted by the amount of paper and ink that I utilized for each set of tests and additional retakes throughout the year. I also hoped that online tests would provide a quick way to assess students and analyze grades without spending hours checking student tests. Lastly, I have to communicate with a special education teacher, and I was hoping for a way to allow the students to access tests and retakes without interruptions. In conclusion, an online assessment program would be successful if it involved less grading time, saved an abundance of resources, decreased the amount of classroom interruptions, and allowed for easily accessible retakes. In order to address this problem, I was able to implement online quizzes into my social studies class. My initial plan was to implement the quizzes into social studies and then transfer math tests to an online format once I received feedback and tweaked areas of improvement. I created the first official online quiz using Discovery Education. By creating online assessments, I was able to build a whole set of quizzes without the use of paper or ink. Discovery Education also provided the students and teacher with immediate feedback after the quiz was completed. I was able to put a link to the quiz on our team blog so that students could access the link from any computer throughout the school day, and there were no interruptions of students approaching me for a hard copy. Another positive feature of the Discovery Education quizzes is that the students are able to retake it as many times as desired, so retakes were simple and accessible through the same link on our blog. Overall, online quizzes allowed my students to retake any test if they are absent or perform poorly, saved hours on grading multiple quizzes, encouraged students to retake the test quickly without interruptions to daily instruction, and will save our school district a lot of money on paper and ink. These points proved that the implementation of online quizzes was effective and successful within my classroom. The online assessments were only available throughout the school day, and students needed a code to access the quiz. This prevented students from pretending they were other people or cheating with materials at home. To keep track of the amount of resources and time saved, I documented the number of papers saved and recorded how much time it took me to place the grades into my gradebook. I compared these amounts to the resources and time used for general paper and pencil testing. I also kept a tally of how many general and special education students interrupted my class time in order to retake the test. The three main online quiz creators that I explored were TestMoz, Discovery Education, and ProProfs. Along with finding helpful quiz creating websites, I also found several research articles that supported my implementation purpose. I used Google Scholars to find articles and had a rough time finding articles that discussed the implementation of online quizzes in the classroom, so I mainly looked for articles that supported portions of my solution. Maybe MSU e-resources would be more helpful in the future. One article stated that online assessments can reduce anxiety in several students that usually get anxious on paper tests. This same article also expressed that the subjects mainly provided positive feedback on their experience. A second article that I found shone light on the instantaneous results from online testing. This process saves teachers a great amount of time on grading, recording, and passing back results. Another article described the variety of quiz websites available for several purposes. Although online assessments should only be used as one form of assessment, there are many websites available for teachers to choose from and use for many reasons. The last article that I came across listed tips on how to make accommodations and modify online assessments for special education students. The data can be used to improve student learning and demonstrate their understanding of content knowledge. These resources encouraged me to continue using online assessments and validated the fact that they can be effective if used properly. The successful balance of technology, content, and pedagogy are evident throughout this assessment process. With the implementation of online quizzes, students are able to interact with a computer, express their knowledge of content that corresponds to specific daily goals, and receive immediate feedback for their responses. All of these features were newly introduced and allowed the students to assess their knowledge differently than they ever have in previous grades. For the TPK portion, online assessments are an excellent way to keep records of data, grade quickly, and provide feedback for the quiz taker within minutes of completing the test. Students yearn for immediate feedback, and online assessments can provide this and pinpoint exactly which questions the students got correct and incorrect. I was able to compile their data quickly and acknowledge student effort and achievement. Lastly, using technology for tests and quizzes will provide a more engaging way to assess students than the traditional pen and paper form. They were able to interact with the quiz website, which maintained interest while they were expressing their knowledge of specific content. As for the technological content knowledge, the test booklet that corresponds to my social studies text consists of multiple choice and short answer questions. Online assessments allow me to create questions that correspond to my curriculum and include a variety of formats such as fill in the blank, short answer, multiple choice, and true false. I can also change the look of the assessments by including images, altering the font size and type, and adding colorful backgrounds. Discovery Education quizzes allow me to include images in the assessments to assist students in applying information they have learned in the notes to the assessment material. Since I teach a variety of special and general education students, I enjoy the opportunity to create multiple forms of assessments that include several modifications and accommodations to fit the various needs of my students. Online assessments demonstrate the PCK part of TPACK because many online assessments creators have the option to create multiple versions of the same quiz, which allows me to shuffle questions, answers, and also create similar questions for each test or quiz. By asking students about content using a variety of question types and wording, I am able to analyze if they actually have a deep understanding of the material. Online assessments also provide me with simple ways to reword questions. My curriculum often uses very difficult vocabulary that does not relate to the textbook as well as it should. I am able to alter the questions and make sure that the assessment questions correspond to my daily learning objectives. An online assessment is also more engaging to students because they are able to be in front of a computer and interact with the material instead of circling or marking their correct choice on paper. Students seem to appreciate the fact that they could go their own speed and enjoy taking the assessments on the computer. I definitely implemented the project as planned, and the students really enjoyed their experiences with online quizzes. I implemented a portion of the project by creating one of the social studies quizzes using the 3 different online quiz creators. I wanted students to try the different types of quizzes and share which form was easiest for them to navigate and most appealing. The students were then asked questions from a survey on SurveyMonkey to see which quiz format was their personal favorite and what features were most important to them. After listening and reading over student feedback, I created and distributed a Discovery Education online quiz into both of my social studies classes. I created a quiz using the vocabulary terms and other content from our social studies curriculum. I chose to create the quiz using Discovery Education because our school has purchased portions of Discovery Education that allow us to create assessments and gather results for an unlimited amount of students. The background designs of the quizzes are engaging, and you are able to display the quiz one question at a time with the availability to go back to previous questions. I took the students to our computer lab and printed the students a step-by-step instruction sheet on how to access the quiz from our team blog and what to do once they have completed the quiz. Overall, the implementation process went well, and the students seemed to have very positive feedback and suggestions for the new assessment process. There were several surprises, bumps, and delights with the implementation of online quizzes. Most of the students were enthusiastic about taking the quizzes. I thought they might have been overwhelmed by the different formats that they had, but they had so much to say about the pros and cons of each quiz. One student even mentioned, "Why don't we do this in other classes too?" Another student seemed a little uneasy about taking the test on the computer because so much can go wrong with technology. I was surprised that they were even thinking of these downfalls because I didn't even really think of the technological problems that could go wrong with online assessments. Another surprise was how quickly I was able to create a quiz using these programs. I was able to shuffle questions, change answers, and edit wording in minutes, saving a lot of time to do other tasks that could benefit the students. There is even one option that allows you to separate students into groups for grading purposes. As far as unexpected bumps in the road, I found it very difficult to find the time to implement this project, find a free resource that allowed me to include all the features I wanted, and survey students on a single computer. Although they were all online quizzes, websites, each one had features that were totally different than the other quizzes. Some allowed students to retake quizzes, and others could display the whole quiz at once. I did not know how hard it would be to find a free program that allowed you to create a quiz with students that could retake, display pictures, and have matching questions. Many quiz websites required you to pay a fee in order to receive the most helpful features. Some of the delights included the excitement of students and how easily adaptable the quiz formats were. They were so excited to be taking online quizzes and receive their scores immediately after each question or quiz was completed. Another delight was how easily I could adapt each quiz to fit the needs of several of my special education students. This process can usually take a large part of planning, but this Discovery Education, I was able to quickly edit, add, delete, and modify content with the click of a button. Some successes included the engagement level of students, positive feedback, amount of paper and ink saved, and amount of time saved. My students were so engaged in taking the quiz that there was not a peep during the quiz. After each class completed the quiz, I asked for feedback from the students to see what improvements I could make to future online quizzes. Since all students remained seated and just continued on to the next activity, students that take their time with tests did not feel rushed. Other comments like, "I liked it, it was way more fun, and why don't we do this in math too?" reassured me that the students enjoyed the process of online testing. As far as resources, I say 62 pieces of paper that would have contained ink on both sides. This does not even include the 17 retakes that I gave to students. If I were to continue the test-taking strategy for my social studies class, I will save the school a whole package of 500 sheets of blank 8.5 by 11 paper in a matter of 3 months. I could also save a whole box of 10 packages of paper by implementing online quizzes into math in 6 months. This is encouraging for my school and could save our district a lot of money if I implemented online assessments in my math class and if other teachers got on board with online assessments. As I continue to implement new technologies into my classroom, I need to trust my professional decisions and approach the situation with much more confidence than I did for this project. This project pushed me to implement something that I have always wanted to try. I am so glad that I overcame these fears and just trusted my decisions because this project has opened my students' eyes to new opportunities of testing. Next time I implement a new technology into the classroom, I need to take control of the situation and expect that there will be bumps along the road. As long as I learn from the surprises, bumps, and feedback while moving forward, I can continue to improve my teaching strategies and technological implementations. Some lessons that I learned included double-checking quiz questions and responses, creating shorter web addresses, and having a backup plan. Technology is unpredictable, and there have been many times that several of our laptops and other computers are not even working. It is also very easy to type in an incorrect blog address or even write a question wrong. On a positive note, Discovery Education does provide a way to print off the quizzes, see if students have any unfinished tests, and I can use websites such as tinyurl.com to create smaller URL links for my blog. My successful experiences with online quizzes have encouraged me to continue creating online quizzes for our social studies curriculum. I also plan on implementing online quizzes into my mathematics class. Once I have mastered improvements and strengths of online assessments, I hope to share my findings with fellow colleagues and recruit other teachers to share the benefits of assessment forms, such as saving time, preserving the environment, reducing class interruptions, and allowing students to retake with the click of a button. I encourage other teachers to implement online quizzes and experience the differences that they can make.